At UBS, I watched analysts lose an entire night the moment an MD pushed back on a certain assumption in a financial model. And that's because of a mistake they made long before they started spreading any numbers. In this video, I built a complete financial model from scratch, the same way I did for years at UBS, on a hypothetical transaction that I'm calling Project IST, Nestlé buying Danone. We start with the setup, the structure, and the foundation before any single number goes in, because if you get that wrong, then everything you build on top can break. I'm Nico. I spent close to 5 years as an associate in the UBS large cap M&A team on over 20 billion francs of deals. I also built the intern training program that they still use today, and I taught investment banking interview prep at University of St. Gallen and Bocconi. And all I do on this channel is share what's working for candidates that I coach. The same thing I do every day at Never Banked. One-on-one coaching, weekly group calls, and building a community that connects you with future banks. The link's in the description for anyone who's interested in learning more, and the Excel, which we're building today, is in there too. So let's set it up. So a professional model usually includes a cover page and a control tab. Control tab is key. Cover page is more to look nice, especially if you send it to a client, to give them some more insights about the model and the general sort of gist of it all. As said, we're looking at Project IST, a hypothetical acquisition of Danone by Nestlé. The perspective we're taking is that of the bidder, and we have these specific dates assumed. Very important in any financial model is the color code. So any formula or title or label, so it's black. Blue means hard plug, meaning if you type in a number like this needs to be a blue font, and this demonstrates that it is a hard plug, meaning there's no formula linking to it, meaning it can break if you don't update it accordingly. This with sort of a grayish background, it can also be, by the way, this yellow, but usually you took gray and maybe sort of a dotted border, which you can do like this. So you can use shortcuts, Alt, H, B, Y, and then you can put one of these as the border, and then Alt H B A, giving you this sort of nice border look. This is an assumption, which means it's a hard-coded input, which can or should also be changed. For example, a perpetual growth rate in the discounted cash flow analysis, which we'll be looking at later. Green is a link to another tab, and Alt H F C, and you see here this green is selected. This means if I'm linking something over here to this number, then this is coming from another tab. So I need to make it this green to illustrate that. Purple means it's a data pull. This can be Bloomberg, FactSet. It can even be data that you're pulling from Yahoo Finance, for instance, just to show that it's live data and this is supposed to be updated. Usually in a model, if you're working at a bank, this will be updated automatically with the market refresh, which is linked to all of these formulas. Any extraordinary things like that are not standard, you put in red, just that they really stand out and scream something's different with me, that specific cell. That's the cover page. For more important is the control tab. In here, we have all of the assumptions that feed into the rest of the model. We don't want to hard plug any of these more than once because it just makes the model inefficient and harder to update. So if you have, for example, a date on which you want to refresh the market data, then you put it in here and link all of the other tabs into this control tab. And like this, you make your life easier. You just update it once and you don't risk forgetting to update it in one specific tab and then having outdated information in your model. You have other general assumptions, like, for example, what's the FX, what's the exchange rate for the specific model you're looking at. Sometimes I've also seen and done an exchange rate sort of matrix if you have multiple currencies, and then you link into this matrix the different exchange rates you need throughout the model. You have what's the fiscal year end, which month, it's December in this case, which day, and how many days are there in the year. If you need to calculate things like days receivable, you need to have a defined number of days per year. And again, this should not change throughout the model, so you have it once in the control tab. Here you can build sort of a year engine just to see how many years does the model want to go back in the historicals and how many to the front, just so that the whole structure of the model is always the same. And here you can already see the formatting. These are assumptions which you can and maybe want to change, while these are formulas which are black, meaning there's some sort of a formula or calculation in here. Companies, here we have just the main sort of financial ticker and the name and so on, so that they're stable throughout the model. Especially a ticker, if you're linking directly into FactSet or Bloomberg, you want to have this defined once and then pulling the correct currency for these companies. And later you can again translate it into a uniform currency. In this case, it's Swiss francs because we're taking the view of Nestlé, the Swiss buyer. Then we can have a few switches, especially for different cases. For example, active case name. Here we have different cases. We have an upside, a base case, and so on. And here we have a simple switch, meaning if you want to switch to the upside, you just put it in here. And this flows through the rest of the model if you build it correctly. And we'll get to that here when we build the operating model and include a so-called feeder at the bottom of it, feeding in to the rest of the model. Let's leave this at base case. Circularity switch is especially important if we have a debt schedule. We'll get to that in the LBO as well as the merger model when we start thinking of financing structures, which include debt usually, and then you need to make that purposely circular for the whole model to flow correctly. And then we can have a few more assumptions which will become relevant later, but all of these are assumptions which flow through the model and you want to have them defined once up front, especially if they're relevant throughout the model. And you see how many tabs we have. If you were to do this in each specific tab, it's just too cumbersome for you and prone to human error, basically forgetting things. This is for sensitivities, which we get to later as well. Then we have maybe some valuation assumptions. What is the tax rate that we want to use throughout the model for the bidder, but also the target? Risk-free rate, equity risk premium, which we can use, for instance, Damodaran, which is a free source online that you can use for this. And then we can have a few more deal-specific assumptions. So what is the offer premium to the spot, to the current price? What is the target rating? Because we'll be doing a rating analysis as well that we want to assume at least for a pro forma combined entity. And a few more things like maximum leverage. What are the synergies? What are the fees that you pay an advisor or all the advisors, meaning the investment bankers, the lawyers, and so on? And a few extra assumptions that we'll be using later in different sections of the model. To find these name ranges that we've defined, you press F3 and then you see them. So for instance, let's go to the exit multiple, press enter, and you see it's linked then to this cell, which is, we're defining it as exit multiple. And very last point are checks. Checks are very important to include in the model just to make sure that things that might break and should be a certain way, for instance, assets need to equal liabilities plus equity. These things you can check by simply subtracting one from the other and seeing if it gets you exactly zero. Sometimes there are minor rounding differences, meaning you include sort of a round to 3 or 4 decimals, just because sometimes with iterative calculations, circularities, it cannot get the exact match. But don't worry, it's usually because of the 7th decimal is off. But the way you do this is within each tab, you include a certain check. For instance, here, making sure that assets equal liabilities. Then I press F5 and enter to get back here. And you link this to an overview page where you can, at one glance, you can spot, are there any mistakes and where are the mistakes? And then you can double click into it and it takes you straight in. To get this double clicking into it, by the way, you press Alt F-T-A and you go to advanced and then you untick this one, allow editing directly in cells. And this allows you to double click and it takes you to where you want to be. And then you press F5, enter to get back to where you were. And that's the setup. Everything calculated is a formula. The colors tell you exactly what each cell is and does. The shared assumptions all live in one control tab. And you build each tab one by one and include checks so that you spot any inconsistencies that might break the model down the line. Next, we work out which specific models you need. Because for deals this size, one is never enough. A merger model, for instance, doesn't actually need a DCF. I'll explain why. The files below to download and follow along, including also a free AI workflow for this entire setup in the description. Now hit that subscribe button so you catch part 2. I'll see you in the next one.